All right. Well, we are in for a treat tonight. Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I am beginning to love my Tuesdays. I look so forward to the conversations we're having. Hard to believe, but this is the fourth week in our Building an Authentic Practice webinar series, fourth out of five. So this is the second to last week. But you can also catch any episodes you might have missed as recordings. So be sure, if you haven't heard the previous three, go back and give them a listen. I listened to them all today and they really have turned out well. But I am super, super excited about my guest tonight. We have been waiting for this moment for weeks and weeks. If our pre-call is any indication of how tonight is going to go, you're in for a treat. I promise that I will keep an eye on the time. I will make sure we are done at our allotted time at 8 o'clock. But I'm really, really happy tonight for our Dream Team Foundations to welcome David Friedfeld of Clear Vision Optical, President and CEO of an unbelievable partner in the optical industry. Everyone that knew that he was coming on tonight to talk about culture in business said, well, you picked the right person. So I've been a huge fan of Clear Vision, what you've done over the years as a practice owner, as an optometrist, as somebody involved in the optical community. Anyone that has dealt with anyone in Clear Vision comes away with such a positive experience. And I can't wait to hear how you've done that and how you continue to do that. So David, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm honored to have you here.
Thanks a lot for having me. And one thing that I would say back to the audience, which, it's kind of hard because it's only you and me, not the audience. But I would say this, I want to challenge some people out there to think this way. Clear Vision Optical Company is a family-owned and operated business. So it's not an unusually large corporation, nor do we have unusual amounts of funds or unusual amounts of people. Everything we've done can be done in a practice. So whether it's a practice of 4 or if it's an organization of 4,000, I'm going to talk tonight about things that are more about the values and culture and not necessarily spending more money in anyone's practice. So everything we talk about can be done for free and improve the value of the practice over time.
I love that. And I think that's such a great way to set the tone, because often we think about the companies we deal with as these large organizations with levels and levels of people, and we don't get to know the people behind the company. And I've been fortunate over the years to get to know the team at Clear Vision and to know the inner workings, but I'm glad to bring that up so people don't think it's a multi-level, huge, massive company that we're talking about, but it's a family-owned, family feel company. And that's, if you haven't visited the Clear Vision booth at Vision Expo or any of the events, make sure you walk by or come and visit, because you get that feeling. So thank you. And I'm excited to hear what we can take away from our practice. I hear you I'm glad you're here because I know you were traveling. So we're a little nervous, but you just got back from Dubai. So how was that?
Just got back from Dubai. And if you've never been there, I would say it's part Disney World, part Miami, part Las Vegas, and part Mall of America. It's an unusual place, but very much enjoyable, and very much enjoyed the people. We were there on business for the Vision Plus Expo. And this year we were not exhibiting, but next year we will be exhibiting there.
Very cool. So I'm glad you made it back in time. I was trying to figure out how we could do this on an airplane or what the time difference was going to be, but I'm glad that you're here. So I'd like to get right in. And I know that the word culture is thrown around a lot in business, but what does it mean to you? What does culture mean in a business sense to you, to your team, to your employees?
Right. So I would say whether you think you have a culture, whether you developed a culture, whether you went to a certain course to change your business, you have a culture. It's either a good culture or a bad culture. And I want to tell a story about an employee that came to us more than 20 years ago. She handed me a business card. On the front, it was hers, her Clear Vision card. On the back, it was mission, vision, value, so forth and so on. And it was things I never saw. So I said, excuse the name, Jennifer, gee, what is this? And she said, well, I used to work for another company. We just spent $100,000, this is 25 years ago, trying to develop a culture inside our company. And these are the things we came up with after so many weeks and months. But nobody lives it over there. I came here to Clear Vision You don't have a company handbook. We didn't have a company handbook. You have over 100 people, and everyone acts as if whatever's on the back of this card, as if that was the way they grew up. And that was my first experience with somebody else noticing our culture. The culture started with my dad. It's fairly simple. It actually is up on our website. I was over there early today. I said, gee, it's up on the website. My dad felt, treat others as you want to be treated. Now that's your vendor, your community, your customers, and your employees. So that's how the whole thing starts. Culture is how you act, how you treat people, how you're seen by others. So whether you consciously do it or unconsciously, it is everything in your business.
Yeah, you stole that from me. I had that written down. So I went on your website earlier just before this, and that is what the first thing you see when you go to the Clear Vision website is that motto. So I have it written down because I really like that. And I thought, if your employees see that and they see that that's what you're putting forward on your website, outward facing to your customers and your clients, but they also feel that, you can see it on both sides. So I love that. And I love that people feel that way, and you're showcasing that to your clients and your customers too.
Yeah. Part of that, I was interviewed for a radio show in 2007. And just like we're doing right now, we had a chat, and I said the same thing. It just so happened my dad was coming to work that day, and the interviewer happened to be, on premise, and he grabbed my dad and he asked the same question. And my dad said exactly the same answer. And the two, everyone started laughing. And he said to my dad, Fred, I just interviewed your son, and your son said the same thing. And that shows that it's consistent throughout the business. That's really what you're looking for. You're looking for a consistent culture. Like I said, it could be a bad culture or a good culture, but it's going to be how you act.
It's whoever you come into contact with, everyone represents the business appropriately. And I worked in a hotel when I was in college, and that was the first thing that we learned is everybody plays a role in the business. This is what we stand for, and we want it consistent, no matter where you are in the business. When the guest runs into you, we want you to feel the same way. So it is great to hear the inner workings of a company as well. So I know, you guys have such a wonderful culture, and your employees, they have flooded LinkedIn today promoting this webinar, which is a huge, amazing just feel that I go on LinkedIn. I'm like, wow, all of your employees are sharing this website because they're so excited to hear you talk about the culture, because they believe in that, which is a testament again to the culture that you've created. But what does it mean to have an employee-centric organization? I know that that's also something that gets thrown around a lot, and I know that you care for your employees, but what does it mean to you to have an organization that really is centered on the employees?
Last October, about a year ago, I got a call from a woman who'd been interning at Clear Vision Optical. So she started out in college. She was working full-time, got married, had a child, and went to work remote before COVID in North Carolina. She called me up. Anybody can call me. It's not a lot of layers in the company. And she said to me, your exact question. She said, David, you always said that this is a family, family-friendly company, employee-centered, centric. I came across an article I think you'd be interested in. Now, when an employee tells me that, I usually think it's going to change a lot of things here. But the short version, because it's a good long story, but I'll give you the short version. I think our maternity policy is not competitive with the world. And when she talked to me about the world, she actually compared us to some very large organizations with a lot of money. And I looked at looked at the policy, and I realized it wasn't competitive. And I got a little bit uptight. I did. But then I spoke to my daughter, who's about her age, and I spoke to my daughter's friends, and I realized that this was a very important thing for families and employees. I came back to we have two COOs, female COOs in our company, co-COOs, talked to them. They said, David, if you're going to do what you want to do, it's going to cost us a lot of money. I said, well, let's think about it. Just like what you said, if we're employee centric and family focused, then we're going to have to live those values. And we figured out how much it was going to cost us a year. It was not extraordinary. And again, I go back to any business owner. I know what you're thinking, but it's not extraordinary to give great benefits to your employees. And that's what we ended up doing. And I know that it was so successful, what we did when we rolled it out later, that one of the male employees in the company said, I know why I joined this company, and you guys just proved it to me, because it's the way you're going to treat your employees. So employee-centric just means thinking about your employee first, not last. Think about your employee truly as an asset. When people say, employees are our most, but think about them as an asset. Don't think about them as a cost. Think about employees as, if you're a business owner, as them making your life easier. If you're a coworker, think about it. Whatever it's good for the other person's could be good for me. So when you're employee-centric, you really are doing the best for your employee first, and not thinking about how it's going to cost you. How do you do logistics? Is it fair, unfair, etc.? Because that becomes, that you can get hung up on that pretty easily. Just think about the employee first. I'm going to give you a couple of stories tonight when you ask me a few other questions, but we'll talk about the employees.
And I think in today's world, it's really important to provide a place that people want to be, because we know how hard it is to find employees to replace. We had Amy Alvarez from IDOC on last week, and we were talking about the challenges in finding staff members. So for you've got great people, and it might be even more cost effective to find ways to keep them and keep them happy than to start all over, find new people, replace them, and build back that culture. So looking at what the needs of the people that you've invested all this time and money in already, and trying to find ways to be more competitive and asking what they want. I love that. But what I also love is that she felt comfortable enough to come to you.
Very important. And when you say ask what we want, a number of years ago, we entered a contest, in New York State that's sponsored by SHREM, which is Society of Human Resource Management. And every state has the same contest. It's, best company to work for. So over the last 15 years, we've been in the money, 13 out of 15 years. And it's part employee survey, part looking at your policies, and, part written by your organization. But that's a survey. And it's 115 questions. And what we do with the survey, I read all the answers. We want to see where we can improve. So it's not only I like my work or so forth and so on. We get to see where we can improve. And we go over this with our employees on an annual basis, and we tell them, these are the areas that you told us were not good enough, and we want to get better in those areas. No promises are made, but we understand that we want to get better. And then halfway through the year, we have something called a living room conversation, which is similar to what you might imagine: 8 or 10 employees in one room talking about real issues, just like you and I are doing right now. And we take those very seriously. So we look to our employees to tell us what's beneficial, what their problems are, and how we can help them.
And I like that you say, I don't make any promises. I'm not promising the world. I'm not promising something that I know I can't deliver on.
Right.
But I'm promising to you that I will listen and that you will be heard.
100%.
And I will do everything I can to make that happen, realizing that this is a business, and it is a business that needs to generate revenue and be profitable. But I am willing to listen. And that's something that we can do in our practices if we have 2 employees, and kind of have that open door and say, it might not be something, I know there's a lot of cold start practices listening, and it might not be something you can offer today or tomorrow, but it puts it into a plan of what you'd like to offer down the road, possibly when you have the resources. But allowing people to be heard and to feel that you're listening to them goes a long way.
Yeah, I am very happy that employees feel comfortable chatting with me, especially when employees come from another company. They don't understand the culture, because that's why I said they don't understand that at Clear Vision you can easily get to Dave Friedfeld. I'm thinking about when you said don't make a promise. One of our we look for 4 things in employees: be flexible, be curious, say yes, and have a positive attitude. Saying yes is really hard, because our answers in the company have to be yes. We can't start with a no. So even if you don't want to give everything, you have to be able to say, Jennifer, yes, we can do that. However, this is the other thing that's going to happen. We won't say, Jen, we can't do it. And that becomes also part of your culture. Think about that. Flexible employee, curious employee, positive employee, an employee that says yes. And by the way, the company operates the same way. when you do that, when you put those kind of values inside your organization, and again, very simple, could be done in any practice. You're right. It's a very, very easy place to work. Hard to be consistent, hard to do it, but the values themselves are not difficult.
And I actually wrote an article on iThrive about saying yes. So I love that exercise in a practice of first observing and listening how many times no is said at any point in the office, but then turning it into a yes. And it might, like you said, you can't really say no and you can't say yes, but you can say, I hear you, and here's
Right.
another alternative. So
Right.
we can use that with our patients. I try it with my children. It doesn't always work, but you can also, yes, use that with your employees instead of saying, no, I can't offer you that. We'll look, we'll look into it, but that's great feedback. And let's figure out a way to come to a way that works for both of us. So it works great with patients, and it's a great exercise for staff in general. Can I see Dr. Stewart? I want to see Dr. Stewart on Tuesday at 9:30. No. Or how I'd love to offer you a morning appointment. How about Thursday? Something like, so it's a great exercise in all parts of running a business, is never saying no, but saying yes instead. So I like that you use it with your employees. I didn't really ever think of it with my employees. I said yes to everything. No, I'm kidding. So what do you think? I know what you're looking for with your staff, with your employees, what you're looking for. What do you think that they're looking for? What makes it a great work environment for them? I know you want them to be curious and the four things you mentioned, but what do you think they're looking for?
So, I think, keep in mind, Clear Vision's in business almost 74 years now. So I think a lot of things have changed over 74 years. Employees want to feel secure. In 2008, when there was a recession, we had a big family. We have a family meeting once a month. Now we're a virtual company, so work from anywhere. We still do it. We still do a virtual meeting. But I came in the very next day and I said, don't worry, everyone. Don't worry. We take care of whatever has to be taken care of. Employees want security. Employees want to know that they can grow in an organization. Employees want to know that the compensation is reasonable and fair. I will tell you that we've had employees leave for what I would say are a very, very small amount, like less than 3 or 4%. But that employee wasn't happy to begin with. And I have no problem understanding that we can't meet your needs. I understand that. I tell that to people. I understand this is not meeting your needs. I get it. But it's not that most people will leave for 3 or 5% business. If you have reasonable benefits, reasonable compensation, that's just on the side. I will tell you that there are people that don't pay their employees fairly, and they'll have a rotating employee staff. Many, many, many years ago, I went to visit a competitor here in the local metro area, and they were paying their employees more than I was, considerably. And I realized that it was phone operators, incoming, inbound, and they were a much bigger company than us. But I realized that they can recruit my best players if I'm not competitive. So we figured out a way how to, raise our rates inside the company, but at the same time, get more productivity, because that's the other part of it. Any one of us, you have, a lot of owner operators out there. They're going to say, well, Dave, you're a bigger company than me, and I don't have those resources. No, everything in our company, everything we do, even the maternity policy, had to be paid for by internal productivity or efficiency. So we just figure out, okay, how do we pay for this? How do we make it work? Employees want recognition. They want appreciation. We have something in our organization which anybody could do here. Anybody can do this really easy. Doesn't cost a penny. In your email, hashtag kudos, KUDOS. When somebody in the company does something outstanding, interesting, fun, worthwhile, another employee, not a manager, another employee will recognize them, and they'll do hashtag kudos. Jennifer, David is the managers underneath, and CC, and I get all of those, and I personally answer all of them. Hey, Jen, that was a great win last week, so forth and so on. I didn't realize how powerful this was until I saw that people were printing this and putting it on their desks. We celebrate every month in our family meeting those kudos. So we want people to understand you're being recognized by others, being appreciated. is very, very important. Being allowed to participate, being allowed to make decisions is very important. Now, to be fair, some employees get nervous about making decisions. We have this in our company, and I try my best to encourage them to make decisions and stretch. And I always tell them there's only two people that can really harm the company. That's me and my brother. So if we make big mistakes, it's bad for the company. If you make a mistake, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it.
That's great, because yeah, you have to empower people to feel or make them feel empowered to make a decision and to do something, and they're going to fail. They're likely going to make a mistake, but letting them know it's not going to bankrupt the company and Absolutely. It's okay, and they'll learn from that, and you support that, which gives people a lot of feeling of, wow, I can grow. But it really, and that's an interesting point you make, because I think we think so much that people just want a raise, and we often feel that our staff, especially if we've had staff there for a very long time, we think, oh my gosh, I can't keep giving them a raise. I can't afford that. But you show that it's not just about the money. People want to feel appreciated and safe and secure and supported. And a lot of that doesn't cost a lot of money.
Well, to the point about giving a raise, we, as I said, in this family meeting we have on a regular basis, I'll talk to everybody in the company. How do we make a profit? And we talk about this. We talk about how people earn raises, because we use the word earn raises, not get raises. I tell everybody in the company, we don't work by cost of living increase. We don't. I said, I have costs that increase. So we haven't had a price increase to our customers in 2 years. So think about that. There's inflation. The division didn't raise its price. How are we going to give raises? Everyone has to work hard so we can generate a profit inside the company, so that we can offer raises. And at that point too, we're very clear on, raises are one part, but we also had a 20% increase in our healthcare costs. Did you consider that that's part of the raise? That's part of the raise. There are benefits you can give away that are very inexpensive. In some of our early talk, you were asking me about, family-friendly, employee-centric. One of the things we did a few years ago, probably more than 10 years ago, I think it's pretty cool. Most companies haven't done this, but you could do it easily in a practice. You remember in high school or grade school, your teacher would give you a pass, a hall pass, to go from some place to the other. And if you were caught without the pass, you were in trouble. Well, we realized that sometimes people would have to take off work to be at home, to be with a sick child, take someone to the doctor, go to the child's school to see a play, be at home because the pipes froze or whatever else they had to be at home. And they were taking off their PTO, and this was valuable. We realized that if we gave people what we call the 2-hour pass, that's why I go back to the hall pass. Here's your pass. You get, I think everyone gets 8 of them a year, and you can earn more, of course, but 8 2-hour passes, which effectively is 2 extra days. It's not a day off. It's to have an extra long lunch. It's to go shopping for Christmas, right? It's to come in late because you didn't feel well, but you didn't want to stay home. It's because your child has to be at the doctor at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You knock off early. So the 2-hour pass, again, very employee-centric, very, very friendly to the employee, doesn't cost the company a lot of money and not a lot to work. And in fact, we had people that would say, well, I didn't use all my 2-hour passes this year. Can I give them to my friend? I don't remember what the rule was back then, but it would just became a currency that didn't cost a lot of money, but it meant a lot to the employee, a lot.
And especially now when people value flexibility and family and life balance, that makes your company very attractive to somebody who, might be trying to work at home with a sick kid and trying to do both. And at that point, the work that their work output is not efficient. It's not worth it. So it's better to just say, things happen. We understand. Here's your 2 hours.
Right.
We value you as an employee and we value your time, but here's your time away that we value as a person.
You asked me a question earlier about employee flexibility, and I love what happened in this last year. So we went remote. So the Clear Vision Optical Company is a remote company, work from anywhere. And I like that a lot. I think we have a great culture for that, but I think a lot of people can do it. And I even think maybe for a different day, we can talk about how ODs can do that, because there are a lot of jobs that can be remote. I hope I didn't get in trouble for saying that. But there are a lot of jobs. But we had a very interesting situation because we have a meeting every morning at 8:30. And there's, I think, about 12 or 13 people on that call. And it turned out that one person, only one person, had a difficult time making that because the family had one person as a teacher. So that person, the spouse had to leave early, and two older kids had to leave. And then this person was left at home, putting their daughter on the school bus. And it became stressful for that employee to make our 8:30 call. So, do we move it? Do we not have it? And one of the other employees in our company said, I'll take notes and I'll be responsible to get the information to him. And we now have that person walking their daughter to school for the last 2 years, put him on the bus. So think about that flexibility. What does that mean for everyone else? Now, again, if you have people that are jealous, if you have people that are saying that's unfair, we don't want you in our culture. But if you say, wow, that's pretty cool, so-and-so doesn't have to come to the 8:30 meeting because another person's going to cover for them and they get to walk their daughter to school, everyone wins.
Everyone's happy, and you've created that culture where people, yes, don't feel jealous, and they don't feel that somebody's slacking off or it's unfair. And what I love about that story, and I was glad that we got to that because I remember you sharing that with me, is that another employee stepped up and said, I've got this. This is the culture that we've created, that we want to treat others as we wish to be treated. So I want to treat this employee the way that I want to be treated, because I know that's the culture. And it's something that you don't have to think about, that is not written on the back of a business card, that's not a plaque on the wall that you know, walk by, but it's really how you feel. And if we can do that in our practices and ingrain that, so that we don't have to think about how to interact with patients, and we don't have to think about what answer to give them, or to think about how to, what we need to do. And it's just ingrained in this reflex of, I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated. You solve a lot of problems. You don't need a manual to answer every question. You don't need a rule for everything, because the rule is just think about how you would want to be treated and do that, and it works. So I love that. And I think that's such a great story, because it not only shows what the values of a company are, it shows the team members you have and how they are willing to do extra work to help out one of their other team members, and everyone feels supported.
Yeah. I know that we're going to knock off in about 2-3 minutes, and it's never enough time. But I know your last question will be, do you have anything else you wanted to add? I'll try to do 3 things real quick. Number one, I think every owner operator, and to be fair, every employee should understand anything we talked about tonight can be done by being creative. You have to just think about it. Productivity is very important in an office. Oftentimes when I visit people, I'm looking to see how productive the office is. At Clear Vision Optical, I'm looking to see, can I make your job easier? And then by making it easier, I can pick up some time, and then can I make you more productive rather than hiring another employee? So efficiency and productivity generates profit. That's what everyone has to understand. So you can pay for a lot with efficiency and productivity. You can't grow your practice just keeping adding expenses. And I say that to everyone, employee and employer. So that's number one. Number two, retaining staff. When Amazon came to Long Island, and everyone was nervous here, they're paying $22 an hour and they're doing this and doing that. We had no problem, because when we went remote, our employees, our hourly employees, only work 6 hours a day and get paid for 8. So they make good wages, but only work 6 hours. Why? Because during COVID, we learned how to be more productive and more efficient. So when COVID was over, we just said, let's keep things like this. So you can actually, if you want to bulletproof your organization from having to hire over and over and over again and train over and over again, develop your staff, develop the right staff, hire the right people. We had a big session today on hiring. We know that if we hire wrong, we're going to have that person for quite some time. So hiring right is very important. And maybe the last thing I would say is that, oftentimes over the years, I've either been accused of being a socialist, like David, you've created this socialist environment there, and that's not really the way businessmen work. Or I've been maybe accused of being too nice, too soft, et cetera, with the policies of the company. And the truth is that neither of those are true. Everything I've said tonight benefits the owner operator 100%, because I sleep well at night. There's no drama in the organization. We're financially sound. We don't have to worry about employees constantly leaving the organization or any kind of, like I said, jealousies or drama. All of that's beneficial. Our employees will go the extra mile all the time. That's one of the terms we use in the company, or DWIT, do whatever it takes. Our employees do that naturally. And I think our employees are happy when they're doing it. They don't feel stressed out. Oh, I better do it. They go like, wow, this is the easiest way to do it, because they value the company. And that makes it easy for me to walk in. I never wanted to walk into Clear Vision Optical with a pit in my stomach. And I don't walk in at all that way. I'm very today I had an early meeting. One of the employees brought me breakfast. I couldn't believe it, but that was totally unnecessary, and I was really surprised and very happy. Very happy.
I'm not surprised. I mean, just hearing the way that people speak about you, and truly the way that everyone shared this webinar and really put their own spin on what they said about you and the company as they were sharing it. I read every one of those and I said, man, this is going to be great, because they feel that way. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to go that extra mile, but they felt like they wanted to share. They were proud of where they worked and wanted all of the LinkedIn community to know that, and to know that they were excited too. So I feel that way, and I could talk for hours, and we did. I mean, we spent a long time talking about this, but in the essence of time and wrapping up, I just wanted to thank you. I really appreciate the advice that you gave, and that you really did give advice that translates well to optometric practices. That's not just a business strategy that we look at as small business owners also, or independent practices, and go, well, that's great, that works for you, it's not going to work in my company. But you gave us some really, really great ideas about how to value the employees we have, how to create a culture that's unique to our practice, and to empower employees to make decisions based on knowing what's right and not having to think about it or ask my manager or how to figure out what to do. They just know what to do because they feel supported and comfortable where they are. So I thank you. Anything else? I'll give you one more minute.
One last thing.
I can tell you one to add one more thing.
No, one more thing. I apologize to everyone who thought it was going to be over at 8. I apologize. I want to talk about the background, because Heidi said to me, Dave, no background tonight, no background. And then when we came on, she saw I had a picture of Halloween. She goes, definitely take that down. I said, do you mind if I put up another background? And I want to tell everyone this story, because this goes back to our values in the company: innovation and fun. About a year ago, the head of our IT in our company, maybe more than a year, I think more than a year, somehow we were in this, COVID world, and we're remote, and everyone couldn't deal with their backgrounds. And he came up with this idea of changing the background weekly. So this one happened to be for Customer Appreciation Week, but this week is Halloween. So you start out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You're supposed to change your background every day. And then at the end of the week, Seth, I think it's Seth now, will award a Starbucks card to somebody for the best backgrounds. So think about that. We have 150, 200 people every day trying to outdo everyone else with their backgrounds. This morning I came on there, and he takes a picture of the morning call. He takes a picture and puts it into our Teams chat. So this is all for fun, but think about the innovation that you get, and think about when you get on a call with somebody else and they say, David, tell me about that background. And it doesn't just say Clear Vision. It's anything and everything for the week.
I saw your Halloween one. It was a little spooky, so.
Anyway, thanks for letting me tell that last story.
Oh, thank you. No, it has been such an honor, and Clear Vision continues to be a huge supporter of eye care, independent practices. Your employees continue to be amazing and so much fun. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully before Vision Expo East, but I know that I will see you at Vision Expo East and your whole team. So we have one final week left. So our last webinar in the Building an Authentic Practice is next Tuesday, where we will talk with Jay Binkowitz, which will be another fun session. I promise to keep it as close to 30 minutes as I can. We're going to talk about measure, evolve, progress, and succeed. So you alluded a little bit to it in building efficiencies, and being open with metrics and tracking, because you have to figure out what's working and figure out how to continue doing that. So Jay and I will talk about how to set metrics in your practice, a little different than we usually talk about metrics, but what we should be watching to make sure that all of the things that we've learned in the last 4 weeks that we're implementing, making sure that they're successful. So with that, I will see everybody next Tuesday, same time, same place for our last webinar. But again, these have all been recorded. So if you do want to go back and re-listen, if you missed one, I listened to them all and they're really, really great. So there's so much great information shared. Thank you again, David. Thank you for everyone joining us, and I will see you next week.